Hi and welcome to another video from me, Christopher at DBG, and we are doing our final section of the 10th edition rulebook from the core rules, and this is muster your army and we'll go on to missions. Has 10th really changed from 9th that much? How are you going to set up your armies? How are you going to actually deploy? What do you need to take? There has been already some questionable things with legendaries. But we'll go into that in another video. For now, we're just going to concentrate purely on the core rulebooks as we have done for the last couple of days. So please check all the rest of the videos out and let's just crack on. Hope you enjoy. So that's right, let's muster your army. Has it really changed? What type of armies are you doing at the moment? What are you thinking for 10th? I'd be really interested to know. Me, I am completely by heresy at the moment. I keep coming up with ideas for new heresy armies. I have to finish an Alpha Legion. Currently have a Sons of Horus army being painted on commission by Warzone and Warlock. And I have been planning so much, mainly because I've got a heresy tournament that I'm running on the 8th of July, so it's not long until that. At 2.5k points, it's a nice point system to have a play around with some of your bigger toys that you might not be able to play in 40k anymore, but we'll see. Let's crack on with this. So this is the core rules only. We'll get all the other stuff later, so please comment, let me know what you're working on. Be really interested to know. And if you've got any pictures, please share it with Devil's Brush Gaming. Please tag, if you're a painter, tag yourself in as well. I want to get you as much advertisement as possible. It's available there. Okay, so muster armies, as we have been doing already, is we're going to read through and listen.
Army. In order to play a game of Warhammer 40,000, you will need to muster an army. To do so, follow the sequence below. With your opponent, select one of the battle sizes below. This will determine the total number of points each player can spend to build their army and, as a result, how long the battle will last. Points are a measure of a unit's power on the battlefield. The higher a unit's points value, the more powerful that unit is. The points values for units are presented in other publications, such as codexes and the Munitorum Field Manual. You will need to refer to these when building your army. Incursion. Points per army 1000. Duration up to 2 hours. Strike Force. Points per army 2000. Duration up to 3 hours. Onslaught. Points per army 3000. Duration up to 4 hours. The details of your army must be recorded on an army roster. This can be written on a piece of paper or recorded using the Warhammer 40,000 app. Players must show their finished army roster to their opponent before battle commences. You can download blank army roster sheets from warhammer-community.com. Note on your army roster one faction keyword to be your army faction.
Okay, so really simple on that. I like the fact they've got the times in there. It's almost every 500 points is well, I was going to say an hour, but it's not, because 2,000 points is 3 hours, where 1,000 points is 2. But understandably, the bigger games you're going to play, the higher up it's going. I love the fact that it's advertising its app and then gives you a link to a blank roster sheet, only because the app is rubbish. Hopefully, please change that, because I love Battlescribe, but I want to use something official. I like Games Workshop. I like seeing the pictures of the units and things like that, which is on the app, but it's just there's no army building section. And make it free. For goodness sake, just make it free. Buy a codex, you should get a code. They're probably doing that again, but let's see. Just get an army app that works, please. and the one that allows you to print or copy from it, so you can paste it in a chat as well, because that's really important, especially for tournament organisers. When we do army listings, there was no way of that feature ever working with the current app system. That's why I encourage Battlescribe. But this is what it is in a moment. And note your one army faction keyword to be used. Could there be some type of soup? We'll find out.
Select battle size. Start your roster. Select faction 55 for 5-6. Note on your army roster one set of detachment rules for your army. Some detachment rules list units that you either must include or cannot include in your army. You must follow all such rules when building your army. Select all the units you want to include in your army. Your army must include at least one character unit. Each time you include a unit in your army, it can take any upgrade, enhancement, or options it has access to. Note on your army roster the number of models in the unit, any weapons, war gear, upgrades, and any enhancement it has, and its points value. Subtract this points value from the total permitted for your battle size. You can only include a unit in your army if that unit has the faction keyword you chose for your army in step 3. You have enough points remaining. Your army does not already contain 3 units with the same datasheet name as that unit, or 6 units with the same datasheet name as that unit if it is a battle line or dedicated transport asterisk unit. Only characters can be given enhancements, and your army cannot include more than 3 enhancements in total. No unit can have more than 1 enhancement, and each enhancement included in your army must be unique. Epic heroes cannot be given any enhancements. Your army cannot include the same epic hero more than once. Asterisk every dedicated transport unit from your army must start the battle with at least 1 unit embarked within it, or it cannot be deployed for that battle and will instead count as having been destroyed during the first battle round.
Interesting.
Select one character model from your army to be your warlord. This will be the leader of your army, and make a note of this on your army roster. Your warlord gains the warlord keyword. Select.
Okay. Went a little bit weird there. I couldn't see any words, but it was just jumping from here. Okay, so a couple of things to digest there. I think the main one is just all working backwards. A character can be a warlord. It says any character, so presumably it doesn't need to be an epic hero for that. Speaking of which, epic heroes can't be given any enhancements. They are what they are on their sheet. I like that. Stop mucking around with the legendary heroes that are known to us already. If you've got your own character, then that's your time to make it your own. Give it its enhancements, change its weapons, all of that stuff. That's your hero for your army, but it's not an epic hero yet. Maybe a narrative campaign, you can build up to something like that it gets named. The other thing is, obviously, you can take enhancements, but no unit can have more than 1 enhancement. Nice, keep it simple, and each enhancement in your army has to be unique, so you can't use multiple, the same one across your army. The other one is you can't have 3. Your army doesn't already contain 3 of the units in the same datasheet. Apart from if it's line or dedicated transport, then that can go up to 6. Presuming that battle line will probably cover it with your troops basically. Is that front line, battle line units? Makes sense to me. Equally, if you're going to try and be cheeky and have transports that don't start with models, good luck, they're destroyed like that. If you're going to buy transports, the unit has to start inside it. Why not? They're arriving to a battle and it is their carriage. Just trying to see if there's any new shiny models there. No, but I do like Gene Sealer Colts. Look, they look cool, don't they? Couple that with the current Gene Sealers. Army could have a soup in, I'm not too sure. Yeah, but that's it. So for me, missions are so fundamental, because if you're just playing the same and same again, it's just going to kill your hobby. You're just going to get bored, and it's one of the reasons why I don't like just kill missions. They're just too one-dimensional. It's why I like playing themed armies. I like playing lore armies. I like playing narrative. I like playing competitive. But with a themed army, I'm mad like that. But also with my tournaments, I have every board that's different. They're all themed, just to keep that interesting. Now, missions are vital and critical for you to have different experiences each time. I wonder what missions-wise is important on here. Now, I'm not too sure how my reader is going to work on this, because it tends to hate tables, but let's have a go. Let's see what it says.
Players muster their armies based on their selected battle size, as described on pages 55 to 56.
Average being 2k.
Each mission will guide players on what size of battle they can play, and may include further rules that could affect how players pick their armies. 2. Read mission objectives. Each mission will state what its primary objectives are, and may also include one or more special rules. These cover unique situations, or abilities that can be used in the battle. 3. Create the battlefield. Each mission will include details of the size of the battlefield that you will need. Each mission will also instruct you if any terrain features or objective markers must be set up, and will provide details of where to set them up. Otherwise, it is assumed you are using the guidelines on pages 49 to 52 to create your battlefield. If you are using a battlefield that is a different size or shape to those guidelines, you will need to adjust distances, and the location of deployment zones, objective markers and terrain features, in an appropriate way. 4. Determine attacker and defender. Players roll off, and the winner is the attacker, their opponent is the defender. 5. Declare battle formations in the order stated below. Both players now secretly note down which of their leader units will start the battle. Attached, they must specify which leader unit is attached to which bodyguard unit. Which of their units will start the battle. Embarked within transport models, they must specify which units are embarked within which models. Which of their units will start the battle in reserves, including strategic reserves. When both players have done so, they declare their selections to their opponent. 6. Deploy armies. Each mission includes a deployment map that shows where each player can set up the models in their army, called their deployment zone, and will list any restrictions that apply to setting up. 7. Determine first turn. Each mission will tell you how to determine which player has the first turn. 8. Resolve PIE battle rules. Players alternate resolving any pre-battle rules units from their armies have, starting with the player who will take the first turn. 9. Begin the battle. The first battle round begins. Players continue to complete battle rounds until the battle ends. 10. End the battle. Each mission will tell you when the battle ends. This will typically be after a set number of battle rounds have been completed, or when one player has achieved a certain victory condition. 11. Determine victor. Each mission will tell you what you need to do in order to win the game. If neither player manages to achieve a victory, then the game is considered to be a draw. Missions. Before you can wage war in a game of Warhammer 40, core rules missions. 57. Objective markers.
Okay, so pretty much straightforward. Everything is transparent, and you determine which one's going to be the attacker, that'll be first, and who's the defender going second, and that is in all the orders of pre-game moves as well. Now, objective markers, always really important. Has this changed? I can't remember.
Markers. Objective markers represent objects of tactical or strategic import that both sides are attempting to secure, such as valuable artifacts, vital supplies, or communications nodes. If a mission uses objective markers, it will state where they are located on the battlefield. These can be represented using any suitable marker, but we recommend using round markers that are 40 mm in diameter. When setting objective markers up on the battlefield, place them so they are centered on the point specified by the mission. When measuring distances to and from objective markers, measure to and from the closest part of them. Models can move over objective markers as if they were not there, but they cannot end a move on top of an objective marker.
Like that's clear.
At the start of the battle, each objective marker on the battlefield is said to be contested, and so is not controlled by either player. To control an objective marker, a player will first need to move models within range of it. A model is within range of an objective marker if it is within 3 inches horizontally and 5 vertically of that objective marker. Every model has an objective control (OC) characteristic listed on its datasheet. To determine a player's level of control over an objective marker, add together the OC characteristics of all the models from that player's army that are within range of that objective marker. A player will control an objective marker at the end of any phase if their level of control over it is greater than their opponent's. If both players have the same level of control over an objective marker, that objective marker is contested. A model is within range of an objective marker if within 3 inches horizontally and 5 vertically. Level of control, add together the OC characteristics of all of a player's models within range of the objective marker. An objective marker is controlled by the player with the highest level of control over it. In a tie, it is contested. Models cannot end a move on top of an objective marker. Mission map key. Attacker's deployment zone. The attacker must set up their...
Okay. So got a hint here as well. Many players choose to bring the narrative to their missions to life by positioning objective markers within exciting terrain features on the battlefield. When setting up terrain features, you can place them on an objective marker would be, so long as you can reposition that objective marker directly on top of the terrain piece as it lies flat without any overhanging over it. That's fair enough. That objective marker should still be more than 1 inch from any impassable terrain. Parts of the terrain feature such as walls and ruins, so that there is significant room for models to move around it. If it is not possible to set up in terrain features or markers in such a way, both players can agree and they can nudge the position of the terrain or the objective. Of course, the final position of the objective should still be as close as possible to the location indicated on the mission. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's fair enough. If your objective marker doesn't fit because of some terrain thing, move the terrain or move the objective as close as possible. And then they have a key, which I was trying to read before then, of this mission map. So we've got red for attacker, shield, green for defender, grey no man's land, and skulls for objectives. Really self-explanatory. And this is one of the mission, only war. Okay.
Only war mission. The time has come to prove your worth as the greatest commander in the galaxy. All that stands between you and ultimate glory is an opposing force bent upon your destruction. Destroy the enemy army and secure strategic sites littered across the battlefield while stopping your foe from doing likewise. 1. Muster armies. First, players will need to muster armies based on the battle size they have selected, as described on pages 55 to 56. This mission is designed for incursion, strike force, and onslaught battle sizes. 2. Mission objectives. Capture and control. Progressive objective. Starting from the second battle round, at the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is scores 1 victory point, VP, for each objective marker they control, to a maximum of 3 VP per turn. Details of how to control objective markers can be found on page 58. 3. Create the battlefield. Players now create the battlefield and set up terrain features using the guidelines on pages 49 to 52. The minimum size of your battlefield depends on the battle size you have selected, as shown in the table below. Battlefields. Battle size. Minimum battlefield size. Incursion strike force 44 inches by 60 inches. Onslaught 44 inches by 90 inches. Players must then alternate setting up objective markers on the battlefield, starting with whichever player wins a roll-off, until a total of 4 have been placed. Objective markers cannot be placed within 6 inches of any battlefield edge, or within 9 of any other objective markers. For determine attacker and defender. Players roll off and the winner is the attacker, their opponent is the defender. 5. Declare battle formations. In the order stated below, both players now secretly note down which of their leader units will start the battle attached. They must specify which leader unit is attached to which bodyguard unit. Which of their units will start the battle embarked within transport models. They must specify which units are embarked within which models. Which of their units will start the battle in reserves, including strategic reserves. When both players have done so, they declare their selections to their opponent. Core Rules Mission, Only War. 59. 6. Deploy armies.
Okay, so far, it's pretty much just an objective grab. Hold 1, get 1 point per objective grab you have at the end of each player's turn. Maximum of 3 per turn. So far, not much to it, and not that exciting for something that's core rules. Unlike the other core rules that we've had, hoping that they'll do an errata or an update on the community things of different missions soon, I'm sure.
Players then alternate deploying their units, one at a time, starting with the attacker. Models must be set up wholly within their controlling player's deployment zone. Continue setting up units until both players have set up all the units from their armies, or you have run out of room to set up more units. If one player has finished setting up their army, their opponent continues to set up the remaining units from their army. If both players have units with abilities that allow them to be set up after both armies have deployed, the players must roll off after all other units have been set up and alternate setting up those units, starting with the winner. 7. Determine first turn. Players should roll off again, and the winner takes the first turn. 8. Resolve PRE battle rules. Players now resolve any pre-battle rules their armies have. 9. Begin the battle. The first battle round begins. Players continue to resolve battle rounds until the battle ends. 10. End the battle. The battle ends when all of the models in one player's army have been destroyed, or once the 5th battle round has ended, whichever comes first. 11. Determine victor. If, at the end of the battle, one army has been destroyed, the player commanding the opposing army is the victor. Otherwise, the player with the most victory points is the victor. In the case of a tie, the battle is a draw. 12-inch 12.
Okay. And that is it really in the core book. So the mission they've given you an example is a very lackluster mission. Claim objectives at the end of each player's command phase. Gain 1 victory point for an objective. They did a diagram with objectives, didn't they? With this sign. But they haven't put any here. So you don't know where you're putting them. Did they say anything about placing objectives? I don't think they did they? I didn't hear anything about objective setups. Or how many. Or anything like that. Oh, am I just being really silly? I'm trying to read, see if there's anything. No, they didn't. So they gave you an objective mission example, but didn't tell you about where you put the objectives or how far away they got to be away from each other, anything like that. Oh, this is painful, Games Workshop. Really disappointing, because you just want... They could have just put 4 pretty pictures of some objectives in there. Hoping that's an oversight. But let's get on to the mission. Mission is boring. It used to be you can set up 6 objectives and they can be 12 inches away from each other, basically, and they had to be 6 inches away from a table edge. That, I think, is a really nice thing. Actually, here we go. Players must... Why did it not read this? Players must then alternate setting up with objective markers on battlefield, starting whoever wins the roll-off until a total of 4 objectives has been placed. There we go. Objective markers cannot be placed within 6 inches of the table edge or within 9 of another table. There we go. So it's pretty simple that. There we go. Sorry. Take it all back. So 4 objectives. So most times there'll just be 2 in your battlefield, unless someone wants to be brave and put it in one in the middle. But basically you've got hold objectives. You score 1 point for every objective you've done. But if you kill your enemy at any time completely, you wipe them out, then you win the game. It's alright. As an objective goes, to get used to it, it's okay. After you've done that, start making them up, unless we get some new fancy ones, which I hope we will soon, because obviously for a tournament wise, it isn't going to cut it, and for casual games, it isn't going to cut it either. But it's good for a start. But either way, mustering your army is pretty straightforward. You pick your faction. Faction's your keyword. Design your army around 2,000 points, or 1,000, or 3,000, or it could be any points. To be honest, don't always need to go for their suggestion. 1,500, 1,750, you know, even 500 points to start you off. There's absolutely no problem doing that, and actually, it's something I encourage. Again, to get some variety in your army, taking that bigger unit that you want, or even going for that muster of a starting invasion, or it scouts a planet first, puts 500 points down, and it builds up to 1,000, then 15, and then 2, and then 3 for a big game in the conclusion. But for that, I suggest you mix the missions around. There is cards coming out, mission cards. It gives you like secondary objectives almost, gaining victory points throughout for special things you do. All of these are really good for the game, and I really hope that they come out soon. I have no doubt they will do, because there is a box of cards that come out in the Leviathan box about missions, so there's plans, there's some things coming, so do hold on to that hope. But otherwise, it's okay. In conclusion, what I thought of this all as a whole rulebook, it's got some interesting rules. We spoke about the catapulting transports. Still can't see where you can't do that. If you didn't understand that, then go back to when I talk about transports in a previous video. Twin link being rerolls to wound, slightly different. Only having +1 to hit or -1 to hit. Equally same for cover saves. I think that's really good as well. That +1 firing arc from higher up on terrain. That's really big. That is a big change. I don't think people were going to realise that until it really hits home, how good heavy weapons are going to be. or the new intercessor guys with loads of missiles and silly looking weapons. Can't remember what they're called. Liking orc shooters as well. All cool. Okay. So that's all cool from that part. The leaders joining the squad, only one of them joining the squad, I think are really cool. Really like that. Providing they've got the leader rule, do check, because some don't, like the bigger Primarchs. They have an aura effect, and that might be applicable for some special characters as well, or epic heroes in this edition. Overall, I don't think much has changed. It's changed enough to throw it off. Battle shock is a real big thing, but I don't think it's any more you play it, how much it's really going to affect your armies, and it's something to play around with as well. Weapons that are going to cause it, psychic powers, those sort of things are going to cause that battle shock tests. And remembering they're happening every round as well, or if you've gone below 50%, which I think is a really big effect on the game, and it's going to make people not being able to control objectives, or they're worth 0 points, not use stratagems on, etc, etc, when we talked about battle shock. I think that is a new dynamic to the game, and I quite like it. I don't think it's too tedious, and that is always the problem with something like a new rolling rule that happens every turn. There doesn't seem to be too many dice rolls in that sense, and generally I think it's okay. It's a core rulebook in the day, and you can't judge it by its core rules until you see what's added into it. As we know, all codexes are going to be very different. There is a whole new data sheets that are applying, and we'll go through the data sheets. Sorry, it's late. For each one on the Warhammer community page soon. But I wanted to do the rulebook first, because I think you could look at the data sheets and go, oh my god, strength 10, AP -3, all of this sort of stuff. But unless you know that all the rules behind it, actually it all means nothing. And even when you do know all the rules behind it, if you don't know the points of that vehicle, it still means nothing, really. And it could be -4, strength 10, bolter. But if it's 100 points, then it's not really any good. Or equally, if all Marines are now 5 points each and Guard are 4 points, there's a disparity on there as well where the strength is. Looking at what historically we've got for those data sheets. I think that's what we need to look at more. I know the points are going to be released soon. Whether or not it's in the next couple of days or weeks, I do not know. But it'll be interesting. But when they do, we'll have a look at that and we'll give a proper breakdown, because that is where my maths head and the sort of statistics of looking at things quickly and sort of judging and comparing is a bit of a strength. Rules, reading them is a pain, and that's the reason why we did the read aloud. I hope that sort of works for you, and I'm glad you enjoyed us on this journey as well. Be interested to know what you think of all that, and we'll probably use it going forward if it's positive, rather than just hearing me waffle on. But we'll do a breakdown of all the specialities, what the changes are. Now we know what actually some of the keywords mean, especially leader, stealth, loner, all of those sort of stuff. You look at a data sheet without the information, it becomes even less useful. Now we know that, we can look at the data sheets and break it down a little bit more, and see the advantages and disadvantages of weapons as well. The only thing we need to compare about is points, because that is relative to power, and as it says, the more points, the more valuable and the more stronger the unit arguably is. Be interesting that in comparison between other epic heroes, for example. If one is more points into their own rulebook, in theory it should be more powerful. But we know on a tabletop, a lot of things can change, a lot of things can add to it, stratagems coming in, all of that can add or decrease a power of someone. But with that in mind, please like, comment, tell me what you thought of everything so far, and I'll check and we'll chat soon. And do share your pictures of projects and stuff out across our channel, on Facebook or Instagram if you want to tag me and things like that. And I'm showing stuff on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok as well now, so please follow us on all those social medias. Links are in the description. Apart from that, have a great hobby, and let's look forward to 10th. Let's it be a good one. I think it's going to be. I'm generally really hyped for it. I feel a little bit better now I've read the rules. It wasn't too much changes, but I'm also really into heresy still. It hasn't shifted me away from being into heresy, which is always the worry when a new rulebook comes out, but that hasn't happened. So if you're starting any heresy projects or want to know any more about our tournament coming up as well in July, then let me know. After July, I'll be planning some 40k tournaments. I'll be registered for those ITC points, and hopefully be part of the Kent circuit as well. There's loads of tournaments, there's loads of tournament organisers in Kent, and we all chat and try and make sure we don't clash with anything. So it's really important for us to build that community. So please like, subscribe, all of that jazz. And if you want to know any local clubs, let me know as well, because there's some new players that I've come across that are coming to Kent. So thanks again, happy hobbying, and stay safe out there.